Now we've also added a little half-moon piece of 30-second ply here. This is just glued right to the top of the stick, up against, fitted into the fuselage. That is only in the areas of the canopy or the hatch. The purpose for that is pretty simple. When you're in here digging around, working on your model needs, receivers, batteries, fitting stuff, servos, servo arms, whatever you're doing, it's easy to bump these sticks and pop these joints. They're just butt glued on here, so they're not the strongest joint in the world, but they work well. But we're trying to eliminate failures from forces that the sticks were not designed for. These sticks weren't designed to carry loads up and down, forward and aft. They're in shear and in tension. On my bottom cowling, I've started to assemble the engine baffles. The Extra needs engine baffles. I've started to assemble these, and I had to stop until after we get it painted, because the next pieces will be glued on in this area, and they will stick up above the cowling, make it a little bit harder to sand. So we're going to hold off on that till we're done. But I've put these up right up against the crankcase. The idea of the baffle is to keep air as it enters the cowling while you're flying. It's to keep the air from just going straight in and down. Remember, the cylinders are going to be back here, right behind the baffles. There's a tremendous amount of room between the air inlet and that cylinder. Very easy for the air to just go diving right on down. So it's something that you should consider heavily. I highly recommend it. Also, we have a little carburetor air duct. We've done this in the past before, and it's worked very well. Not every model needs this, so you might consider whether or not you want to try it or not. But what that is actually just a piece of fiberglass in a round shape that is fitted directly under the carburetor. Its purpose is to direct fresh, cool air, undisturbed air, into the carburetor. Pretty simple. It's worked out great for us in the past. That helps keep that burbling heated air from the exhaust and whatever else from getting to the carburetor and causing it to run differently, different attitudes such as knife edge or inverted. Okay, here's our canopy or our hatch. As you can see, I have it taped up and I'm currently working on fiberglass and painting it. The reason why we fiberglass and paint these is because the cowling will be painted, for most of us will be painted, and it's very difficult to get the texture exactly the same between paint and monocoat or whatever else you're using, providing it's not paint. And if you continue right off of the canopy, right onto the hatch with that paint, it just blends in, looks good, and it comes all the way back to the end of our canopy, which has a nice break, natural break point anyway, same as with the line underneath where it sits on the fuselage. It's a nice even break, it's a nice separation line, tends to work very well for us. We've added a couple of things in here of which you can no longer see, but on these extras and some of the edges, the canopies tend to look kind of pulled in this area here after you assemble the model. You've got to pull this canopy down to glue it. We use Bob Smith Industries odorless thick CA, gap filling CA to glue the canopies on. It does not fog the canopies, and it holds up rather well. When you pull these in place, it tends to pull the canopy down, and as you're looking at the model, say from this angle, once it's all done, it'll look depressed in this area. You'll have an obvious distinct change in shape from the hatch to the canopy. So what we've done is we've added a piece of shear webbing underneath between the false instrument panel, which we cannot see right now, but it sits on top of the false canopy or false instrument panel, lays right in this area here, and is there to lend support to this plastic here. This is all plastic. Lend support to it to keep it from puckering in. You don't have to do that. That's just something that we found to be useful. Another thing that we found to be quite useful is a canopy retention. As you can see, there's been no lightening done in this area here at all. Many of you will decide to cut this out or something. But what we do to help hold our canopy on, as you can see the back side of this, it doesn't look like there's a T-nut or anything there, but there is. What's happened is we put a piece of 1/8 inch hard ply here. It goes all the way through to our spruce stiffener here, which it runs from here all the way to the back here. It's glued straight to it. We've put a T-nut on the back side of that here, and then we've taken a piece of light ply and cut it to the same shape and glued it over top of this whole assembly for purposes of holding that T-nut in place. We don't want the T-nut coming off. Some people at the flying field have gone to take their canopies off and they shove their Allen screw into the screw and they start taking it off, and maybe they pushed just a little bit too hard. Next thing you know, the T-nut spinning in there loose and you can't get the cowling off. You can't get the screw to come out hard enough to get the T-nut to grab again, and then you wind up really messing the canopy up trying to get the cowling or the canopy off. So we've got the T-nut held in with this piece of light ply. We've got the T-nut on the inside. We've glued and pinned every one of these. We don't want our canopy coming off. Absolutely can't have that. You can see also how we've attached our pilot. This is just a regular pilot available at Carden Aircraft. We fit him in on top of the canopy before we obviously glued it in. But we fit it in and we've cut out within about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch all the way around. This is so that we can put household goop, regular household goop is what we use. Just regular old household goop. We use that to glue the pilot figure in. We use a little bit of 5-minute epoxy to sort of set him in there and get him kind of held in place for us so we can work with him. And once he's set up, then you just take the household goop and smear it in there and make a little fillet all the way around. I like to seal mine 100% personally, so that no debris, dirt, dust, whatever that's built up in the fuselage that maybe we didn't get out from construction doesn't find its way venting into the canopy and sticking to your canopy. We don't like to see that. So that's how you install that, and that's the reason why this is cut out. The secondary reason why this is cut out is if the canopy, or if the pilot was to come loose in the canopy, you have some means grabbing a hold of him in backfield. You don't have to start chopping on your airplane flying field. And let's face it, while we're out at the field, we don't want to tear our airplanes apart. We've added a couple of little braces to the bottom of the canopy. This is the floor here. We've just to sort of help stiffen it up. It's a very large canopy. We're trying to make it useful so it doesn't break on us once again at the field. We've also changed procedure just a little bit. Instead of using pins in the front as shown on the plans that go into the front of the aircraft here, we went ahead and made number 5 and number 6 canopy mounts and just kind of fabricate them the same as we did back here. The only difference is this is into foam, so there is no pinning. What we've done is we've taken that pin, or this post rather, we take it all the way up to the top. We cut this all out. It's easy to do, little knife and a little flat blade screwdriver, and you can kind of dig this out, sand this to shape where it fits the balsa wood up here, snug fit, glue it in there with some 5-minute or 12-minute whatever epoxy. You could use 30 minutes if you'd like, and some micro balloons, and that fills the gap in for us very nicely. We've also added a little gusset here since we don't have the ability to pin it. Added this little gusset here to sort of spread the load out. Haven't had one of these come loose yet. It works very well. Here you can see the design of how the spruce runner or stringer glues into the foam sheeted forward hatch area. All that we've done here is we've traced this out. With a pencil, we've cut that out. We've dug it out with a little flat blade screwdriver and a shop vac to where this is a fairly snug fit. We get both sides looking the same, and when we glue this together, we glue it together on the airframe, in other words mounted to the fuselage. With, once again, we're using 30-minute epoxy with this and micro balloons, and we make sure that we have wax paper over everything. Another good trick that we use is we actually put your pieces together, put your wax paper down, mount the whole thing to the airframe, and then we turn the airframe upside down. The reason why we do that is so that any of this resin and any of this glue that does get out will lay right on the the top surface here and not drip down into the fuselage should you happen to get carried away with how much glue you use. You wouldn't want the glue running down into this area here because it would just make a mess. You do still run the slight chance of gluing the canopy fast to the airframe, which you don't want that, of course, but our primary purpose is try to keep it where it's supposed to be. You want it laying in here, filling this up. As you can see, there's a few small gaps in this one. We may go ahead and fill that up before we're all done. I did want to note the grain on the top of the turtle deck. As you can see, it does not all run into a V. We have our center top piece, which is glued. This piece here is glued down the center, and then we have a V shape growing here. Most times people will run this V together into the middle, or they'll just continue running these parallel pieces down the side and trim the V off down here with the grain running down like that. On this model, the grain is all running aft, pointing toward an area in the back of the tail. So that's how you would do that. So rather than cut this line in glue, you're cutting this line in glue. We've also eliminated as much end grain as possible with our little piece that goes on the end of the turtle deck, or the beginning of the turtle deck rather. You can see that how the grain is running here. We've got a little bit of end grain going here, but rather than continue that on through here, we've now taken another small, got a little bit of end grain running here, and rather than continuing on around, we've taken a small piece here and turned it where the grain is running left and right once again. And you could do that in smaller pieces if you want. It just depends on how much time you want to put into it. But what that does is that helps eliminate some end grain out here in this area. Everybody's going to be seeing it, and once again, when you're monocoating, solar filming, or whatever it is you want to use, it helps eliminate that nastiness there.